Afterward, Shane looked dead, like some creature washed up on the shore. "You want to come back to mine?" he said, his voice sounding like it was coming from another room in a big house. The two of us walked there, hardly speaking, but our shoulders touched and our feet were in step. At the end of his road, Shane stopped, and I stopped with him. That knife. No one had mentioned the knife since I'd dropped it. I'd thought of all kinds of excuses, all sorts of reasons, but I wasn't going to lie now. Ross, he bade me take it. You know, you can't hang out with us if you've got a knife. It's just not cool. I know. I didn't want it. I'll chuck it. That was it. That was all. I needed someone to tell me what to do, and Shane had. At his house, we went straight down to the basement. Stevie was there. I was disappointed for a moment. "Hey," he said. Then, "What's up?" I looked at Shane, thinking he would tell the story, but he just sat down, saying nothing. So I told it. The words poured out of me. I've never been a good talker, but now it was as if I'd been waiting all of my life for this. I told about the graffiti and the crowd, and Roth champing away like he was eating souls, and the kid and the laughter, and the horror of Roth treating him first like a puppet, then like a dish rag, and about Shane saving his life. I know that was an exaggeration, but it seemed right. I imagined the kid's head worn down to a bloody stump after scarring the brick. All the way through, Shane looked down at his trainers, moving his head sometimes as if he was going to disagree with something. But he never said a word. At the end, there was silence. I was worn out by telling, and Stevie was stunned. "You want to play a game or something?" Shane said, into the void, meaning his Xbox. We shook our heads. Another pause. "Spliff?" Stevie nodded. "Yeah, maybe. If there was ever a time, it's now." I felt a little surge of excitement. I'd never taken anything. Mainly because that kid who died after he sniffed a can of lighter fluid. I know it's not the same, but it sort of put me off. Shane reached under the old settee and came out with a tin. The tin had 2 cigarettes in it, a packet of rolling papers, and a plastic wrap of brown resin. Shane looked at me. Maybe my face was letting on that this was new, that this was something I didn't know how to deal with. "It's not skunk or anything," he said. "Doesn't your mom?" "You know?" "She's okay, as long as it's just this." He rolled the joint as he spoke, breaking up one of the cigarettes for the tobacco. His fingers trembled slightly. "Want me to do it?" said Stevie, looming over, tall even when he was sitting down. "What?" Shane's voice was sharp and aggressive. Not Shane's voice at all. "Just thought, well, don't think." Steve looked down. His face was red. Shane finished the joint, lit it with a disposable lighter, inhaled deeply, and sank back into the settee. 3 big hits later, he passed it on to Stevie, along with the look that said sorry for the harsh words. He could do a lot with a look. The smell from the joint was heavy and sweet and sickly, and I felt a quick spasm of nausea. Stevie took a couple of drags and held it out to me. I hesitated for a moment. I didn't want to smoke the joint, but I wanted to be part of it, part of them. "Have you not," said Stevie, sensing my reluctance. "It's cool, you know. Doing it. I don't mean doing it. I mean not doing it. Don't do stuff you don't want to do. That's the rule." It was the longest speech I'd heard him make. If he pushed it harder, I probably would have pushed back. But now he made it seem like I had a choice, which meant I had to give it a go. I took the joint. I'd never even smoked a cigarette, so I had no idea what to do with my breath. I sucked, and the sticky smoke filled my mouth. It didn't get any further. I exploded into a cough, my eyes watering, my head spinning. And that did it. Suddenly, all the tension in the room, the pent-up fear and adrenaline evaporated, and the 3 of us began to laugh. And the laughter took us literally onto the floor, rolling and choking and coughing and spluttering. When we'd stopped, Shane relit the joint, and he and Stevie smoked it down. I had a couple more dregs and managed not to cough. Not much, but enough, I guess. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen, I said in a quiet moment. When he looked at you, I thought he was going to kill you. That kid is a freak of nature. And that set us off laughing again, and we really didn't stop for an hour. And then I said it was time for me to go home. Me too, said Stevie, and we left together. As I was leaving, Shane put his hand on my arm. What we talked about. You said you'd get rid of it? I will. I don't want it. Okay. At the front door, I realized I had forgotten my bag. I went back down to the basement. I opened the heavy door quietly. The settee faced away from the door, and I had a mind to give Shane a shock, yelling out. You know how you do. There was something funny about the way Shane was sitting. He was smoking the other cigarette from the tin. Not a joint, just a cigarette. His arm was stretched out, white in the gloom. He took the cigarette out of his mouth. I could see the end glowing. And then he put the cigarette to his arm and stroked it down from his elbow to the blue of the veins on his wrist. The gentle movement was tender, as if he was playing with a child, or a cat, or a girl. And then he lifted the cigarette to his mouth again, and drew on it, and then quickly snubbed it down into his arm. Not gentle now, not gentle at all. His body was tense for a moment, and then softened. And he fell back onto the settee and let the cigarette roll down onto the carpet. I backed out of the door and ran up the stairs. Stevie was gone, and I went out into the cold night running. And then I put my hand on a low brick wall, and first retched and then spewed and spewed. On the way home, I thought about chucking the knife in the back. I took it out of its sheath and looked at the blade, glinting in the street lights. Felt its lovely weight, its balance, its calmness. Thought about Shane hurting himself. I'll put it away somewhere safe, I thought. Perhaps this battlefield is like a chess game. I don't mean that there's a strategy here. There is no strategy. There is only horror and confusion. I mean that in between the moves, all is utterly static. Walk away, and the game would remain as it is for eternity. Or at least until the board and the pieces crumble to dust.